Today, we're diving into a common struggle that HR professionals make when they're trying to navigate their recruiting process, dealing with unavailable hiring managers. We've all been there, but let's talk about some of my best ways to overcome this challenge. Hey, it's Brittany, CEO and founder of Towns Teams Consulting, and I am back with today's video. So today we're talking about recruiting challenges and how to overcome those challenges. So if you are interested in conversations like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video for more future videos just like this. As an HR career coach, I work primarily with small businesses and HR leaders that serve employees that have less than 100 in total. And so if that sounds like you are in the right place. Typically, I serve HR departments of one and small HR teams, and I am passionate about using my best practices and things I've learned throughout my career, moving from unpaid HR intern up through executive leadership, to help you to build your career with intention as well. I am on a mission to help 1,000 HR professionals this year to go out of chaos and into control. So if you're looking for more clarity in your role and looking for more opportunities to grow your career on purpose, you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to be talking about the challenge that you run into with hiring teams and managing multiple calendars, but we're going to also talk about some things that you can do to make sure you avoid this problem in the first place. So let's get into it. The first thing you want to do is avoid the availability challenge by being proactive with the way you're working in your recruiting process. So you should never get to the point where you're at the end of your recruiting process or you're trying to schedule interviews and you're wondering when is everyone available and you're trying to fumble and get it all together. No, instead you should be more proactive to make sure you are thinking about that at the very beginning of the problem. About a week ago, I shared with my email community this HR scenario. Your hiring team is not available for interviews until 2 weeks from now, but you have 10 strong candidates that you don't want to lose. What do you do? Let's tackle this scenario from two different perspectives. One is with you being proactive and avoiding this in the first place. The second is with you being reactive, but still figuring out a way to overcome it and to navigate through it. Let's start on the front end being proactive. So proactivity is the name of the game. You've got to make sure you are 10 and 12 steps ahead. Once you know that you have an open position, that means that you just start the ball rolling in your mind to know there are certain things that must take place every single time. You know you're going to have to post a position. You know you're going to have to figure out who's going to be in that role. You know you're going to have to screen candidates. You know you're going to have to get with the hiring team. You know you're going to have to get the people in the door. So there's things that happen every single time in different orders at different times, depending on what's going on within your organization. But you need to make sure you are on top of your processes. That means making sure you have your checklists in place. Make sure you're working from an actual plan so that things don't surprise you when it comes up. Remember, when you're working in HR, you've got to make sure you are always on top of things, because if you are not, those things become very, very visible. That's one of the downsides of working in HR sometimes. If you do everything well, nobody notices. But if you do everything wrong, everybody notices. And so again, for that reason, make sure you are doing everything proactively to make sure you are on top of what you need to be on top of. Pro tip, if you are not using an applicant tracking system to keep your recruiting process streamlined and on track, click the link in the description to get my highest recommendation for this platform. I highly, highly recommend that you save yourself stress, you save yourself time. We'll talk more about the benefits of having an applicant tracking system or an ATS as we talk about this video. Next on the list of being proactive, you want to make sure you are being very intentional with your recruitment communication strategies. We've all experienced it, and candidates today are not waiting around like they did 10 and 12 years ago. If you have a position that's open and you're not communicating with your candidates regularly, they're going to move on because either they feel that you're not interested in them, you're not responsive enough, you're not organized enough, and all of these things can play in their minds, and they've got more options today than they've ever had. I like to tell my team at work, whenever there's an issue going on in the office, especially when it's dealing with recruiting, never let us be the bottleneck. Let the bottleneck be on the hiring team. Let the bottleneck be on the candidates and their availability. Never let you be the reason why something's not getting done. You should always be, again, 10 and 12 steps ahead to make sure the process is continually moving as long as you're pushing it forward. At a minimum, if you're not communicating with your candidates on a weekly basis, you should at least be trying to communicate them on a monthly basis at a minimum, like I keep saying. Using the applicant tracking system will be helpful with this because you can either send individual messages or you can send group messages. You can keep your candidates informed of the process along the way. This is one of the hidden benefits of having an applicant tracking system because you don't have to send individual message and personalized messages to every single candidate. You can literally talk to 50 people at one time with one group message and I'll get a personalized response. If you're not utilizing a system like this, click the link in the description to learn more about my highest recommendation. But again, an ATS will really help you keep your sanity around your recruiting process. My third tip about being proactive when it comes to managing your recruiting process is to get on the calendars of your hiring managers. So, for example, if you're responsible or a member of your team is responsible for scheduling the interviews, don't wait until you have 10 candidates ready to say yes. Once you know you've got the position open, go ahead and see if you can get access to that person's calendar or get that person's availability so you can say, hey, once I talk to someone, can I go ahead and put them on your calendar? Once I talk with someone, are you available during this block of time? You want to make sure you are avoiding all of the back and forth, back and forth. Again, candidates don't care that you got 7 and 10 hoops to jump through when it comes to getting them on board. So you've got to make sure you have your processes buttoned up to make sure you are getting people through the recruiting process as quickly and efficiently as possible. Let's say you weren't proactive or for whatever reason, any of those strategies I just mentioned before didn't work out because you implemented them too late in the process. It happens. We've all been there. But still, how do you overcome the process of having a hiring team who's not available when you've got candidates sitting ready to move forward? It's times like this where communication is going to be super, super critical. Not just communication with your candidates, but communication with your hiring team as well. So let's talk about that. Transparent candidate communication is critical, especially today. Like I said before, candidates have more options than they've ever had. And if they're waiting for your response, if they wait too long, they're going to forget about you. And then when you try to call them back, they're going to be like, what in the world are you talking about? I moved on 3 applications ago. So again, if you know you're in a tight position, you've got candidates that you really are interested in, but you've got a hiring team that's not quite ready to move forward, let your candidates know that. Communicate with them. Let the person know, hi, John, I'm really interested in moving forward with you, but we're dealing with some scheduling issues on our part. Please be patient with us as we work through this, but I'll be in contact with you in the next week to let you know any next steps to move forward in your process. Again, candidates will appreciate your honesty. They'll appreciate your concern. They'll appreciate your clarity. And they'll just understand that you have not forgotten about them. Honesty really is the best policy, especially in the recruiting world. And my last tip when talking about communication, when you're in this position, but you've got to figure out a way to communicate with your hiring team, this is where it's time to be assertive. You've got to talk to your hiring team and let them know at this point, they are the bottleneck. Of course, you don't want to call them the bottleneck, but you want to let them know what's at risk if we don't move forward quickly. Whatever you say, make sure you say it in a non-accusatory way. So you can say something to the effect of, well, this process has moved along much quicker than it typically does. We've got a lot of great candidates that are ready. I know you've got a vacation scheduled in the next week. What's your availability shortly after that? Let them know that you are actually actively working to fill their position. Remember, just because they're not available doesn't mean they're not interested in moving forward. They're just as motivated as you, if not more, to get the position filled because they're the ones with the opening. So again, be assertive with them. Let them know what's at risk if they don't move forward. Let them know your availability. Ask them their availability. Share with them the details of the people that you're interested in. So let them know, like, hey, we got this person with this amount of experience, and I'm concerned that you might move on to another candidate. See what alternatives they might say. Maybe there's a person on their team who can fill in their place. Maybe it's a person on their team who can, step in for them to help them, and then they can maybe circle back once they come back from vacation. Just kind of keep the ball rolling. The name of the game here is communication, and it's times like this where you as the HR professional, as the HR expert, needs to step in and make things happen. So to recap, we talked about multiple ways to be proactive, keep your own processes in place, keep communication open with your candidates, and also find ways to get on your hiring manager's calendar so that you can make the appointments for them. And we talked about ways to overcome the challenge. So again, keeping communication open with your candidates, but also being assertive with your hiring team. If you found this conversation helpful and you're interested in more videos just like this, click the link in the description box to join our private community. This community is designed for HR professionals who are interested in career growth. Again, the name of this channel is called Thriving as an HR Department of One, and I feel that it's important that if you are desiring HR career growth, no matter what role you're in, it's important that you have the proper HR Department of One mindset. That means you're not pigeonholed in one HR discipline. You're not focused on only one thing. You're doing multiple things. You're able to keep multiple projects rolling at the same time. So navigating life, navigating your work life as an HR Department of One is completely different than that of any other role. So if you are interested in moving forward in your career and taking action, click the link down below to connect with me. I look forward to working with you soon. If you found this video helpful, click the link down below to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with your network. I'll talk to you in the very next video. Bye.